Hey guys, when we make videos and mention crime in Japan at any time, usually we're talking about there being low crime rates in Japan, but when we do talk about crime in Japan, quite often what we get is comments from people saying that most crime in Japan isn't committed by Japanese people, it's committed by foreigners, and quite often in particular they'll blame Korean people or Chinese people. And we also had that when we showed videos of Bosozoku. Some people said the same thing. They said, oh, it's all Korean people, they're not really Japanese, they're Korean people. Same thing happened when we showed a video of the nationalist bus, the big black bus with the Japanese flags all over it, driving around with the PA system saying foreigners go home. A whole bunch of people left comments on that saying that they're not Japanese people in that bus, they're Korean people pretending to be Japanese people. So we felt we really had to address it because the numbers just don't add up to support these myths, unfortunately. What's happened is a few police agencies at different times have released statistics that have been released or shown in such a way that it does give the impression that foreigners are committing a lot of crime. But even looking at those statistics themselves from those police departments, just by doing the maths, we can see that any claims that all these crimes are being committed, or the crime is being committed just by foreigners, or that all these guys are foreigners, it just doesn't add up. So anybody who wants to check this information or this suggestion can check the statistics by going to the prefecture police websites, or the Ministry of Justice, the Japan Ministry of Justice, and you can search for these statistics in Japanese or in English, and you will find results in both. And we would suggest that just be careful which statistics you look at, like where they're coming from. So are they coming from a credible source? Are they coming from police departments, or are they coming from the Ministry of Justice? We would suggest that if you look at statistics that are put out by the media or by bloggers, quite often they're not accurate. And for example, we found one set of statistics that actually showed that per capita, so per 100 people, the crimes that were committed by foreigners in Japan were around the same percentage as the percentage of people committing crimes. Percentage of foreigners committing crimes in Japan was similar to the percentage of Japanese people committing crimes in Japan. But when we looked closer, we found out that the statistics quoted for the foreigners included visa overstays. 46% of the people included in that as committing crimes in Japan were actually visa overstayers. So they hadn't actually committed an offence against a person or an offence against property. They'd overstayed their visas, and as such, that's a crime under the Immigration Act. So that particular agency had included those statistics with the crime statistics, which is accurate, but it's also a bit unfair, isn't it? Because, you know, a visa overstay is something that doesn't actually affect anybody else, and is actually a crime that Japanese people can't commit because they don't have visas, right? So, but the point is to look at those statistics carefully and do the math. I'm sure the people that are watching this video are very good at math and can quite easily get those statistics and just work them out for themselves. And it just doesn't add up. If you've only got less than 1% of the population are foreigners, and you say that by those statistics, those police statistics, that it's about the same percentage of those people are committing crimes, well, you've still only got less than 1% of the crimes being committed by foreigners. So it doesn't matter which way you look at those statistics. If you do the math on them, it comes back to the same thing. And also statistics on things like Bosozoku and Yakuza, the police statistics show that Koreans are about 10%. 10% of Bosozoku members or 10% of Yakuza members are Korean. So also guys, for you guys who don't live in Japan, there's also another group who are actually Japanese people of Korean ancestry. So they're Japanese, they're born in Japan, they lived in Japan their whole life, so they're Japanese, But as far as a lot of Japanese people are concerned, because their ancestors are Korean, they're still Korean and they're still considered foreigners by those people. So those people aren't, in the statistics, those people often aren't counted as Japanese either. They're counted as another group again, which is the subset of Japanese citizens. They're Japanese citizens born in Japan, but a lot of people, when they do statistics, include those people in with the foreigners, which is pretty harsh on those people that have been here all their lives, but that's just what they do with the statistics. So it just doesn't add up, unfortunately. So for those people that, when we do a video on Bosozoku and they say, oh, they're all Koreans pretending to be Japanese, well, you know, at least one of those groups that we did the video about actually live in our local area, and they're 100% Japanese. They've lived we're out in the countryside here. Their families have lived out in the countryside here forever. They're Japanese, they're not Korean. There's no Korean history in their families. They're Japanese people. So to be saying that they're Korean, it just doesn't add up. It's just not accurate, unfortunately, just not accurate. So we understand this. What's happened is some agencies have released some statistics at different times that give the impression that foreigners, you know, graphs and things that look like the foreigners are committing lots of crime. But when you actually look at what the statistics are, you can see for yourself that the percentages aren't actually showing that at all. And then what's happened, unfortunately, as always with the media love stories like this, and particularly the Japanese media can be a little bit in that direction, and it's just writing an article that's saying that it's the foreigners that commit all the crime. It makes people feel better, doesn't it? And I think most people would understand this. We prefer to think that our group are good people, and if there's anything bad happening, then it must be some other people doing it. It can't be our people, and that's pretty much what's happening here. Is that you got some people making up not making up, but presenting some statistics, and you've got the media presenting some statistics and writing some stories with dramatic headlines that are suggesting exactly that, you know, the Japanese people are all good people, and the crimes and anything bad that's been committed, and these people in the black buses and the Bosozoku and the Yakuza and everybody else are all Koreans, and that, you know, it's not the Japanese people doing anything bad, and it's just not true. Unfortunately, what is true is, as we've reported before, the crime rate in Japan is one of the lowest in the world. You know, after Japan, the next lowest after Japan is like Greenland and Iceland and places like that have lower crime rates than Japan. Japan is excellent for low crime. We've reported this many times before and talked about this many times before. It's excellent, and that's why a lot of foreigners live here, is because the crime rate is really low. And you know, another thing to keep in mind too is that for foreigners, if we do get caught doing any crimes in Japan, we will be punished the same way that Japanese people would. We were put in jail or whatever, and then we'll be deported. If we're here on visas, those of us who are here on visas, if we're caught committing any felonies or any crimes, we'll be deported. We'll be thrown out of the country. So for that reason, the percentage of foreigners here committing crimes is lower than the percentages of those foreigners committing crimes in their own countries, because they know that in Japan they have to be more careful. So they behave themselves here even more than they would in their own country. So please research this for yourselves, whether you're a Japanese person who's going to research this in Japanese and search this information in Japanese, or an English-speaking person who's going to search this in English. Please research this for yourself. Please get the statistics from credible sources, so from police departments and from the Japan Ministry of Justice. Interpol, the International Police, also has some statistic as well. And please look at those statistics and see for yourself, do the math for yourself. It's just, you know, there's a percentage of people here who are foreigners who are committing crime, but it's a similar percentage to what it is Japanese people here committing crime, which means when only 1% of them are foreigners, it means less than 1% of the crimes being committed by foreigners. Roughly, all those statistics I've thrown at you are all rough, but please see for yourself. That was the main purpose of this video. This is going on our myths playlist, because we want to make it quite clear that this image that all Bosozoku are foreigners is a myth. The image that all Yakuza, or most Yakuza are foreigners, is a myth. Yakuza membership isn't a secret. It's actually quite well known. In a lot of cities, Yakuza take part in festivals and all sorts of things. It's not a secret. So check for yourself. The Bosozoku aren't all foreigners. That's a myth. The Yakuza aren't all foreigners. That's a myth. The crime isn't being all committed by foreigners. It's a myth. It's just not true. So please check it out for yourself. Research it. Please be careful where you get your statistics from, because there's a lot of nonsense on the internet. There's a lot of people with different agendas. Quite often you'll find the people that are going on about the foreigners committing the crimes are the people that don't want foreigners in Japan. And there is a growing number of people that are like that at the moment, that aren't wanting foreigners to be in Japan, and that's fair enough. But unfortunately, they're using that strong feeling that they're having about that to try and convince other people that foreigners are all criminals and bad and shouldn't be allowed in the country, which it's not true. It isn't true. And again, we believe if a foreigner comes to Japan and commits a crime, they should be punished and they should be thrown out of the country. And we've made videos before about this where we've said, one of our videos, search it on YouTube, "Don't Commit Crime in Japan" was the name of it, and that was the topic, and that's basically what we said. We put this strongly across to our viewers that if we come to Japan, that we're visitors and that we should behave like we're guests, and we should behave like good guests. And we should behave ourselves and not commit crimes and not do the wrong thing. So, and again, the visa overstay thing, victimless crime, but it is a crime, and we've actually made a video about that before as well, and made it really clear to people: don't overstay your visa. Don't overstay your visa. If you're going to be in Japan, you make sure that you renew your visa before it expires, or you will be arrested, you'll be detained, and a good chance that you'll be evicted from the country. So please look into it for yourself and see for yourself what the reality is of that. Next time somebody tells you that all the bad things that are being committed by foreigners, just check the statistics and the information of where it's coming from, and make sure that it's accurate before you believe it. Please. More videos coming soon.